Jimmy, do you want to start, or do you want me to start, or?
I don't know where to start. I was gonna ask you. I was like, where do exactly do we start? Where is the starting point?
I guess I guess like with the case of this, it would just be like, what do you want to share? Like, what do you want to know people, or what do you want people to know about you that they wouldn't know otherwise, or that you wouldn't necessarily go into on stream? And but when I say like wouldn't necessarily go into on stream, I mean more so in the fact of like, okay, I have conversations that get really deep on my stream, and I go into those with chat, but that's only if it comes up. It's not something that's just like we go into and we dive into it. It's only if something brings us there and it comes up. So I guess it would just, if you like, whatever you feel you could add that maybe people don't know about you, that maybe is something that, might help them kind of understand you a little bit more and lead into how we got here today and how you're live streaming on Twitch and doing your thing, dude. Blowing up in the RuneScape community and on Twitter.
In the RuneScape category.
And how we're going to old school RuneScape. That's for another day. That's for another day.
That's for another day. I guess I can go into like why I became a Twitch streamer.
Yeah, why not, man? Start from the fucking top. Like, what happened? How'd you get there?
All right, so I got first introduced to Twitch. It was Justin TV back in the day. And I used to watch Siglemic. He was the speedrunner for Mario 64 at the time. And I kind of just been a viewer for forever, so I know all the Twitch culture. It wasn't until COVID kind of happened where I was like, okay, I'm inside all day. At the time, I had lost my job. And then I was just like, let me just, see where this goes. And it kind of just like happened. I didn't actively like, oh, I want to be a streamer, this and that. I was kind of, let me just try it. And then I was like, hey, wait a minute. I'm actually kind of good. Let me just pursue it just a little bit more and see where it takes me. And then we're here now. It's, I don't know. It's strange.
I think that's kind of how a lot of people kind of got started, right? Because like when I got started, it wasn't like, I didn't even know what Twitch was. A buddy of mine was like, yo, dude, you got to check out this new game. It's called Infestation Survivor Stories. We should play it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I was like, okay, yeah, send me a link. And he sent me a link to Twitch. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I don't, what is this? And it was actually, so this is crazy. And some of you guys will say this is full circle. It actually went down to, I was linked to Summit 1G. And so Summit was the first person I ever followed on Twitch. This goes back to 2012 when I created my account, and the landscape, the layout was different. This was, I think Summit was playing War Z. He had like 1,500 viewers, maybe 3,000 at like max on peak, and I was like, man, this is really fun. This seems really cool. And then of course, like truthfully speaking, I was young, and so back then I was like, dude, this guy's making a lot of money playing video games. Like, what the fuck? How sick would that be?
Yeah, just like,
I'm trying to do that too. I'm like, who wants to work a job? I'm trying to do that. And so I think I was 15, 16, and I was like, yeah, how do I do this? How do I get this figured out? And so back then things were really different because there wasn't tutorials. There wasn't, like, you couldn't just go to YouTube and
yeah, it was
type up,
it was new territory.
It was new territory for everybody. It was fresh. Yeah. It was super fresh. But yeah, I think that's kind of how everybody started. I think everybody kind of started like, it wasn't really planned. They were just like, hey, this looks kind of cool. Let me jump into that. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I always enjoyed being a viewer. Like, I love being a viewer. But it's different on the other side. So I gained like a new perspective for like an appreciation for Twitch streamers. Because I was like, it's, it's not as easy as like hitting the go live and playing the game. Like, there's a lot of back end stuff that comes with it, and I didn't think it was gonna be like that until I got into it, and I was just like, oh shit. But I mean, we're still rocking. We're still
yeah, I feel that. Man, dude, it's impossible, by the way. I'm glancing at chat. It's fucking,
you're looking at the dude, I'm seeing the chat move up, but I'm not looking.
It's fucking impossible, dude. This is 9
just
10
close it,
years.
bro.
Dude, it's
just
years.
I
can't. I physically can't. No, there's like a mental
just
block. There's literally like a mental block. Like, I cannot hit that X.
Really?
And like, even when I look at you and I just look at the side monitor, I still have it up on my main monitor, and it's like, my mind is like, it's been 16 seconds. You haven't looked at chat once. You're failing. Look. And so, yeah,
you're failing. Oh,
dude, well, because
no.
like, think about it. When
yeah.
you go into a new stream, somebody who's fresh, who's never ever streamed before on Twitch, they have no viewers. They don't look at their chat. And that's why they struggle to get viewers. They don't even look at their chat, not once. And so, so it's really hard right now.
Yeah, it's deep ingrained.
I looked at chat and they realized I was fucking smiling. Yeah, it's too fucking easy for you, man. Yeah, it should be harder for you. Jimmy's like, man, fuck this chat. He's like, I'm hitting my wood. I'm dropping these teaks. But no, I mean, to get back on topic though, so we were going into like just little details of like how we got here, and basically we just said that, you know, we felt like that's kind of how everybody started out on Twitch. Is it just looked really cool and they decided to do it. Where did it lead from there? Like, what was like, what would you say like? What clicked in your head that made you like want to keep doing it? Like, what made you continue?
I guess when I streamed for like 2 months without anything happening really. I did have that raid from you, which like kind of sparked like a flame, but I didn't really see it going anywhere. It was still more of fun.
Would you say?
And it was then once
Crossfire Flame.
What the hell? Jesus. And then like a couple months later I had like my biggest month. I think I got gifted like it was Corpse and he donated like 40 subs in one day on an off stream. We were surfing at the time, so I wasn't even in the category. I was in a different game and I gained like 80 subs within like 30 minutes and I was like, wait, hold up. Like honestly I wanted to cry because I was like, what the hell is going on? Like
I was there for that. I contributed to that actually.
Yeah, you gifted
Corpse
5
was
subs
going
that day.
ham, and I was like, well, shit, man. Let me just add to the fire. Like I'm gonna go.
Yeah, and Toby, I
gifteds.
remember there was a comment from Toby. Toby's like, "Oh, we gifting subs."
Yeah. Toby
then,
straight up, he was like, we gifting subs, and he started dropping the gifties too.
Yeah. So right there is kind of when it clicked. I was like, okay, I can continue to do it, and yeah, like as far as clicking, that's the moment where it like happened. For me personally, I don't think I've ever heard you say when it clicked for you. Like you can.
Fuck, man. So we kind of have to go way back for that. I think when it first. So honestly, I started streaming in 2013, and I didn't really know what it was when I started streaming. Like I didn't even know. I was so young too, right? Because I was 16 at the time, and so I didn't know really what Twitch was. I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. I think at the time I thought I knew what the fuck I was doing, and I just remember getting OBS and just going live. I had no overlay, really shitty headset, really shitty camera. Actually, I didn't even have a camera in the beginning. And I remember, so like my earliest streams, a lot of people don't know this. Actually, very few people know this. Rob is probably one of the only people that know this. Shout out to Sir Chalk. He's been supporting me since before I was ever a streamer. Me and him played Terra. That old MMORPG, Terra? We played that. And that was one of my first ever streams. We also played a game called Rift. And these were just like one-off streams, and the quality was terrible. I mean, I didn't even know what bitrate was. I had no idea about any of the wording, the lingo, the technology, none of that. I had no clue. And so like my stream looked like dog shit, man. Like it was absolute ass. I think the biggest thing for me that like really made it click was when I did learn a little bit. I found out, okay, bitrate will make my stream look better, but I need better internet. I don't have enough upload speed. I think at the time I was living at my mom's house, obviously, and we had, I think, like 50 down and 2 up, and so I was streaming on 550 bitrate, and so it looked like trash. But there was somebody I remember actually specifically, I was doing an 18-hour dark RP stream. And so this is Gary's mod back in the day. It's probably the first time I ever RP'd, and it was called Dark RP. I don't remember what the fuck we RP'd. I don't think we actually RP'd. I barely remember what it was, but I know during that stream, I actually had got a $250 donation from a guy by the name of Holy Babylon. It was my first ever donation. It was $250. He had been hanging out in the stream for a little while beforehand, but he really enjoyed my stream, and so he had donated $250, and he said, hey, see if this can help you get better internet. And so I went to my mom and I was like, Ma, we need better internet. Like we this
We need
we
better
need.
internet.
She's
That's
like, why? I was like, cause it's slow. This is shit. This isn't gonna work. We need better internet. And so we looked at it, and I convinced my mom to get better internet. And from there, yeah, I was able to move forward. Got better bit rate and got a little bit better quality. And I just kind of from there, just the ball started rolling. I don't even know how I got to like how it became what it was, right? I think it was, so we started in 2013. I was playing a lot of CSGO. I rage quit off of CSGO one day and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go play RuneScape. I love this game. I used to play it all the time back in the day. And it was like February of 2014. And that was the first like major success I ever had on Twitch. It was a year after I had started streaming. And it was because I went and started playing RuneScape. And I don't know, I think it was Jim Sauce on RS. I think he was the first person to like ever raid me with something massive in the RuneScape community. I think it was like 100 plus viewers at the time, and when I had like 15 viewers, and it just kickstarted everything. From there, I literally just popped the fuck off, and we just let it fly from there. Obviously, I had my hiccups along the way, but that was kind of how we got started.
Why did I'll answer this question myself too. Why did you start off like with RuneScape? Why did you main RuneScape? Me, I'll answer first. So for me, I played Rust for 2 years during COVID, and then towards the end of it, I switched because I kind of got bored of Rust. Playing Rust for 2 years is a long time. Literally, the main game, like every day.
Any game.
Not like it's a long time to main a game, and so I kind of got bored with it, and I always come back to RuneScape because you never really quit RuneScape. You always come back. You take long breaks.
Been trying.
So I was like, okay. This is a game I really enjoy. I can play it for hours on end, and the category is small enough to where I could gain a small following, and not be in a saturated category, and then doing something, and yeah, that's why I chose RuneScape. Because I was bored, and two, the opportunity was it was good.
Yeah. So back then, for me, it wasn't even like a business mindset. Because I was too young. I wasn't thinking about any of that. For me, it was like I was tired of CSGO. I was tired of CSGO, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go play RuneScape. There was no thought process to it. There was no like, this is a good category to grow in. This is where my stream could have a chance. There was none of that, because Twitch wasn't that to me. I wasn't even thinking that way. I just remember having a goal. I always wanted to be a Twitch partner. Like that was like always my goal. Like back then, that was the glory days. Like being a Twitch partner was the coolest shit ever, right? Because it was like, if you were a Twitch partner, that meant you could make money playing video games. Because we had PayPal, but that was it. There wasn't bits. There wasn't, there was no ways to like really support streamers without that sub revenue. I didn't even know about ad revenue. I didn't even know about ads. I didn't find any of that out until after I had got partnered, and then realized, I was like, wait, ad revenue, where's my sub button? And then that was when I had found out. You got to email Twitch. Back then, you had to email Twitch and be like, hey, can you enable the sub button on my channel? And then they would be like, yeah, we could do that. But it would take like a business day for them to get back to you. So like after I got partnered, I didn't even have my sub button for like 2 days later. That was something they had to manually add to my channel.
What the heck?
Yeah, I didn't even fucking have it. It literally super old. It wasn't a thing. I had no clue about it. And that was when I had found out about ad revenue. But there was, no one was making money on ads back then. I make more money on ads now than I ever made before. You were making pennies back then. You could pull a hell of viewers, you're making pennies. And so for me, though, the choice to go to the RuneScape community ultimately just came down to being bored of CSGO and wanting to do something different. And I just know RuneScape had a lot of nostalgia for me. And back in the day, I was like, growing up, I had a lot of fun playing RuneScape. So I was like, yeah, fuck it, dude. I'm gonna go play RuneScape again. And I remember I had my buddy, and I think he regrets it to this day, but he's still one of my close homies. But his name is Elijah. And I just remember him telling me, he's like, no, dude, you're gonna regret this. Don't go to RuneScape. No one wants to watch that. And it was like, as harsh as that sounds, he was young too. He's younger than me, so he was even younger then. And so as harsh as that sounds, that was his thought process. And I don't think he was in the wrong for that. I think because realistically back then, like, who was watching RuneScape? Well, at the time, the category was actually popping, but like in reality, it wasn't like what CSGO was on Twitch. CSGO was popping back then. Like Counter-Strike 1.6, CSGO was a fresh game. It had just come out. Like it was huge. It was fucking massive. And so I think at the time it was warranted, But I always wondered too. I was like, what if I had listened to him? Like, what if I didn't go to RuneScape?
Damn.
how,
Yeah.
how would things have been? But
Where would
yeah,
you be
so
now?
I
Yeah.
just I ended up going, and I remember the community being very accepting of me and just teaching me how to like boss and leveling up my stats, and that account got boosted. It got boosted. Dude, people would run up to me in game, like, so there was a period where like we were blowing up, right? Like we make the joke blowing up on Twitter. There was a legitimate period where I went from 20 viewers on Twitch in January of 2014 to 100 viewers in February to 3 months later 350 viewers. Like, we're talking in a 5-month period, I was literally
huge.
blowing the fuck up.
That's huge.
And I was 17 years old. Like, I was transitioning from 16 to 17. I didn't know what the fuck was happening. I didn't understand any of that shit. And so that was that was like, it was that moment when it was like, damn, dude, like, this is actually something that could be for real, for real. Like, I used to watch FaZe Clan YouTube videos, and you'd hear them talking about how they stopped going to school. And I'm like, what the fuck? These guys stopped going to school, and they didn't finish high school, but they're making all these millions on YouTube. I was like, damn, dude, like, that's crazy. Because, you know, when you're a kid, you don't want to go to school.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to school. You don't want to work. You just want to make money. You just want to have big fucking money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, dude, that was kind of what led me to RuneScape.
Yeah, that's different because you had all that when you were younger. I was older at the time.
Yeah.
I was 26 when I started streaming.
Yeah, so it was a big different start.
Well,
so for you were a lot more maturity. There was a lot for you to there's a lot more common sense, I guess you could say, right? There's a lot of common sense that you have.
Yeah, and a lot more self-awareness.
Yeah, a lot of that I kind of grew into. If I, like, truthfully speaking, and maybe we'll break this down in another episode. Truthfully speaking, I don't know if I would start Twitch as early as I did when I did. I'm not saying I regret anything that I've done. Obviously, where I'm at today, I'm loving it, and, you know, I'm very blessed. But I skipped a lot of family stuff. I skipped a lot of gatherings. I basically foregone having friends. You know, I pretty much threw an entire, like, the idea of a social life I just threw out the window, because my social life was Twitch. Like, my interaction with people was literally Twitch. So, like, I don't regret anything. I love where I'm at. I'm very blessed, like I said. But, like, truthfully, if I had to do it all over again, I don't know if I'd start at the age of 16. I don't know if I would be 17 grinding Twitch. There was actually a time in which I went from having A's and B's, maybe a couple of C's. I wasn't like a perfect student. Fuck homework, right? Like, I wasn't a perfect student. I got good grades, and I'm a very smart person, very intelligent individual. But school wasn't my thing. I didn't want to fucking, you know what I mean? Like, one, living in Wisconsin, having to take the bus at 4:30 in the morning, it's freezing in the wintertime. Like, that was the biggest factor. I hate the cold. So that was like the biggest factor for me not wanting to go to school. But yeah, it literally just, you know, it came down to, I was 17 and my grades were starting to slip, because I was focused on Twitch, but I also worked a job. So my focus was everywhere but school. And so there was a point in which I realized, after I had got partnered on Twitch, I was young and naive, and I was like, dude, I fucking made it, man. Like, the people love me. Like, literally, I was like, the people love me. And I disappeared off the internet for a year and a half. Like, I didn't have social media. Twitter wasn't prevalent. That shit didn't matter as a content creator back then. Like, no one was fucking advertising their Twitters. I literally disappeared. I didn't say shit to anybody. But in my mind, that was okay, because when I hit go live the next time, everyone's gonna come back. Oh fuck, dude, I was wrong. I was fucking wrong, man, because that wasn't the case. But so I think overall, if I was older, I think things would have been a lot differently. But ultimately, everything in life kind of happens for a reason anyway. So I think it was like I was meant to be where I was at that time. So, and I learned a lot from it.
Okay. It's kind of like I'm on the other side of the coin, because younger, like, I didn't have any, like, direction or, like, purpose. I would just literally just go out, just do whatever, kind of just wing it. And so, like, for me right now, when I first started doing Twitch, I'm very, like, I'm not antisocial, but I don't go out a lot. Like, I'm very much on Twitch, and it's more so because it's like I've been so, like, go with the flow my entire life, that I finally like enjoy something so much, then I need to put on my all. So like sometimes my family would get mad at me because I'm not like showing up to like birthdays or going out to eat when it's like, or it's like, oh no, I got to stream, I got to do this, you know, oh I have this, and sometimes they don't understand. But yeah, I'm the opposite. Like I'm doing that when I'm older, which I guess is kind of better because I feel like I didn't get to miss out.
Actually, I actually have a word for that. I call it I call
What?
us extroverted introverts. We're not shy.
Extroverted introverts.
We don't have problems keeping
Yeah.
conversation with people we don't know. We just don't like to go out. Like I've never been the type to like go to the
Yeah.
bars. I don't go to clubs. The only time I get extroverted like that is at TwitchCon when I'm with my fucking people. You know, where I feel like I
Yeah,
belong.
when you're
That's when I
yeah,
go to the
yeah.
clubs. That's when I go to the bars. That's when I hang out with a bunch of people. So I actually have a word for that.
Yeah.
I call it extroverted introverts because we're not like antisocial people. And
Yeah.
for a long time, I would just tell people like, nah, I just fucking hate people, man. I just fucking hate people.
just hate
You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's like, it's not that I hate you. I hate everybody
Yeah.
the same. Like, and so yeah, it was like,
It's not just you.
yeah.
Everyone. That's fun.
We do have an ad break in 2 minutes, and I think we're on really, really great conversation.
Okay.
And I would hate to continue that conversation rolling through. And I think it's important to have the ad break so we can have a little breather, recollect our thoughts, but also keep those pre-rolls off. So we'll just kind of pin it where we're at right now. Remember your thought process, and we'll pick back up after the ad break. All right, we're back from the ad break, guys. Welcome back to What in the Podcast, episode 0 or episode -1, whatever you wanted to be. We were going to pick back up where we left off. I appreciate you guys for sticking through the ad break. Hope you guys that have made it this far have enjoyed so far. Thank you guys for being here. And so I think we were in the middle of talking about
Introverted extroverts.
introverted extroverts. Yes. Did you write that down?
I did.
My man, dude, because I lost it.
Because I literally wrote it down. I was like, let me just write it because I will forget.
Okay, perfect. So introverted fucking extroverts, man. Yeah. So you were describing like you know, that aspect of like social. I don't want to say I almost said socialism. That's not what we're talking about here.
Socialism,
that's not what we're talking about here at all. I think you were in mid talking point on that one.
No, I was just talking about like I'm on the opposite side where you said you didn't go out when you were younger, and I'm kind of like that right now, where I'm not really going out just because I want to focus on Twitch and doing something that I actually enjoy, because eventually I want to make this like a full-time thing, because I really wanted to. So like for me, I'm focused, I'm homed in, I want to keep it that way, and sometimes the family doesn't understand that I was like, I don't want to say no to go to like a party or, you know, something, or a gathering, or just say hello. I don't want to, but I have to, because when I was younger, I just didn't care. I would literally just call up the homies, go skate all day, come back, go to sleep, wake up, do it again. Literally,
That
almost
was
every single day.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Like it was terrible. Honestly, I had way too much freedom. And so for me, it's just like I'm finally on my path. I need to stay on it. I just let me disappear for 2 to 3 years, and then I'll come out. You know.
No, that's how it was for me too. Because you know, for a long time I was on my skater vibes too. I was on my skater shit, man. Actually, that throws me back to one time when chat trolled me and I lost a bet, and Virgo made me change my sub sound to Skater Boy by Avril Lavigne for 30 days. And so every time I got a sub, I had to listen to that shit. But yeah, that was, you know, you saw some of the videos, some of the clips. I was in my skater sesh too. And so literally from the moment the sun went up to the sun went down, I was out skating, getting tan and just, you know, shredding it up around town with the homies. But yeah, there came a point where I decided I really wanted to take this serious. It was more so like 2016. So like I was already taking it serious, but when I came back from my break, I had decided like I was going to send it. Like no matter what, this was going to be it. And so everything else went on the back burner. And so to kind of touch on your purpose about that with family, It took a really, really long time. And as shitty as this sounds, and this is probably something that's more common with content creators than we know, because no one really talks about this. People don't really like to go into the detail about this. Some might find it embarrassing. Some might just not like it. My family was not very supportive of it in the beginning. My mom's like, well, what about college? And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, I was like, Ma, I said, I'm a Twitch partner. It's less than a 1% chance. Like, out of all of these content creators, less than 1% of them are Twitch partners. And this was when I had got partnered in 2014. There was 13,000 Twitch partners. Like, this is like groundbreaking, fresh, like the beginning. And so I literally just had to plead with my mom. I was like, Ma, like, I have an opportunity to do something right now that I may never have the chance to do again. I was like, I need to take this and go. And so my mom, she's like, well, you know, it's video games. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. And so I'm 26 years old. And so you can imagine, my mom is older. She's a lot older. A lot of my friends, when I was in high school, their moms are in their 30s and 40s. My mom's, you know, pushing 60. And so she's in that older way. And so for her, it took her a really long time to like, it took my entire family a really long time to like realize what I was doing, what it meant. More so, I mean, they support me a lot more now, but because I made them, you know, they had to. They didn't have a choice. I wasn't going to stop. I wasn't going to change this. I wasn't going to go do something else. This is what I was going to do, and I was going to make it happen no matter what the fuck it meant. And so, yeah, dude, because for a long time, birthday parties, family gatherings, Thanksgiving, I skipped all that, like all of it. Like I'm talking years, like years and years. And so there came a point in which, as I got a little bit older, I kind of missed some of that stuff, and I kind of regretted it a little bit. And so there was a couple years ago where I had jumped back, and I went back to streaming less. And I had made it a point, and I told everybody, I was like, look, this year I'm going to stream less. I'm going to do like 30 to 40 hours a week. We're not going to do crazy hours. We're just going to stream less, and I'm going to start kind of socializing with my family again. And so that was something that, as I got older, your values kind of shift when you get older. When I was a kid, I didn't give a fuck. It didn't matter. None of that shit mattered to me. You know what I mean? It was like, well, whatever, their family, who cares? As you get older, you realize like, those types of things matter more than they ever did. And so you find that balance, you make that adjustment. It took a really, really long time though for me to like find a balance that worked, or to like be comfortable. The problem is like on the internet, and we've talked about this before, and a lot of people don't even realize this, but if I go and take vacation for 7 days, and for that 7 days, I want to take a mental break where I literally consume no social media. I don't talk in my Discord. I don't post on Twitter. I don't post YouTube videos. I will come back at a massive, like, I'll lose hella subs. I'll be making, at least for an entire month, I'll be making less money. I'll be pulling less viewers. That is something that is really hard for a lot of content creators to grasp, because it's like, especially when you do it for a living, like when you do this for a living, and as long as I have been doing it, all that shit matters. And so now when all of that shit matters, and then you throw real life on top of that, it can be really, really hard to mentally process a lot of that, especially at a younger age when you haven't even fully developed. And so that's why this goes back to my earlier point where I said I don't know if I would have gotten into streaming as early as I did, because for a while I was mentally fucked. Like, I'm just gonna keep it $150. Like, there's no other way to put it. For really, like, one, it was lack of exercise, because I'm not getting out of the house, because I'm only playing video games, I'm only staying in the house, I'm doing hella long hours. And that, two, it was lack of vitamin D. I live in Wisconsin. In the wintertime, the sun goes down at 4 o'clock. So you don't get that much sun. And then 3, it was oversleeping. And so those were 3 major factors that contributed to like seasonal depression, or even just depression. And whether or not like I even realized it at the time. I think at the time I probably didn't even realize that I was depressed, I guess you could say, because I wasn't like suicidal. I wasn't like sad. I wasn't like hating life. I just wasn't enjoying life either.
Yeah, you were just you were just in a bummed out mood.
Yeah, it was just kind of like waking up. And so part of that, though, a large factor that contributed to that is that I had come back from a 1.5 year break. And when I came back to streaming, I went from pulling 500 viewers on Twitch to pulling 50 viewers. And at times,
that's a massive
pulling
decrease.
20 viewers. And so before I had actually knew what the fuck was happening, before I had realized why that had happened, it took me 2 years probably like 2 full ass years of wondering, where'd all my viewers go? Are my streams shit? No one likes me. It, like, literally just everything like everything that could pop up in your mind about what had happened was what was going through my mind. I think I went through that for 2 years of stagnant growth. And because I was so focused on the viewer count, because I was so focused on the chatters, I was so focused on my sub counts gone. I'm not gaining followers. I'm not gaining viewers. The games I'm playing, I'm like, I'm good at these games. Why don't people want to watch me? I wasn't on social media. All of that factored into literally fucking it just all factored into me being depressed over it, and because I just didn't know. I was so young, you know what I mean? And so that's why I was like, man, if I was a little bit older, a little bit more mentally developed, I guess you could say, I might have had a totally different outlook. Like that hard period might have not been as hard for me, but that doesn't matter in the sense that, like, sometimes going through those hardships are kind of like what shape who you become. So that was that was so fucking lot though, being a content creator.
A year is a long time, because I even feel it just from a week. Like when I came back after a week, literally like all my stuff. I remember you asked me, I was like, what's your sub count on? Honestly, I didn't want to fucking answer, because I was just like, I don't even want to say it, because it's like, it's gonna put a negative thought. Like I fell off, I did this, I did that. Like, so I can only imagine a whole ass year, especially when you're younger.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
It's like a lot of this shit when it comes to like content creation, you never hear about it. Like when I was watching as a viewer, I never heard about any of that. Like no one talks about, I mean, no one cares about that shit. Like, just to keep it $1.50, no one gives a fuck what you're going through. That's just the world we live in, because they're like, everybody's going through shit. And so I think that's another reason why you don't hear content creators talk about it, is because for some people it's embarrassing. For other people, they just, it's literally that process of like, they just don't think anybody really gives a damn. And so it ends up becoming not an echo chamber, but it ends up becoming like you just literally eating yourself alive in your thoughts.
Oh, that's terrible. But yeah, basically.
That's actually, believe it or not, that's actually what made the big change for me. That's why I had started smoking. That was actually, truthfully speaking, that was the turning point for my mental health, was when I started smoking.
So smoking helped you?
It helped me massively. Like, it literally brought me out of my slump. I stopped overanalyzing what had happened. I stopped living in the fucking past and started living in the present. Like, I had literally stopped living in the past. And that was like, getting high had helped me. Like, so when I had first started, I would only smoke after stream. Like, I would end stream, and that was when all the thoughts would roll into your head. Like, you ended stream and you would psychoanalyze that entire stream.
Oh, okay. So you would suppress.
I would end stream and suppress the thoughts by getting high. And then I would use that to go to sleep, because part of that depression and like part of all of that grind, I was sleeping shittily. Like, I would wake up. I wasn't like diagnosed with insomnia, but I wasn't sleeping. I was up every hour. I would sleep max 2 hours at a time. Jesus. And then I would wake up and be back up, and then I would toss and turn all night long. And so for years, I went years like literally not sleeping. It wasn't until I had started smoking weed that I had actually been able to start to get sleep. That changed everything for me. And so that's why I always find it so weird. Like, people have like this really negative connotation towards getting high and smoking, but it was actually something that, I don't want to say saved my life, but it was something that really turned things around for me mentally. Like, it like actually made me, I'm not gonna say it made me open up. Cause I'm not one to like talk about my feelings. I don't ever care. I'd rather hear you talk about your feelings than to go into like mine. I'm the type of person that's just gonna suppress. It's just gonna literally suppress and push it down.
The same way, bro.
Yeah,
Literally.
Yeah. And so for me, weed was kind of the escape, man. That was my way out of the bullshit. That was my way of not caring what people on the internet were saying about me. Because like back then too, it's really easy as a content creator to read comments. It's really easy to read the hateful shit that people are saying about you, and then take that hateful shit and apply it to yourself and be like, oh, maybe they're right.
Yeah, I've done that before too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just like a thing of the brain, right? Like, I don't even know why. I think it's a human nature. I think it's something that a lot of people do. It just,
Like we can't help it. It just
yeah,
happens.
it's just, I think it's
Yeah.
natural. I think it's very natural. And so that's why a lot of people are really into like getting help. But I'm not one of those people. Like, I don't think like
Yeah.
therapy isn't for me, right? Like, I don't want to say it like, because it's not like a negative thing. And I'm not saying I would never try it. It's just not something I see being like an outlet for myself. In fact, I'd rather have the podcast here as an outlet where I can kind of feel like I can go into it a little bit more and not really give a damn. But part of that is being 26 and just being too old to really give a fuck what other people think about me too.
Yeah.
Part of that is just being older.
Yeah, I had a therapist and literally I just ignored them. Literally didn't care what she said because I'm not that type of person to open up to anybody really. Like for me, I don't want to put my problems onto other people. I'll listen to other people's problems and I'll listen and I'll give like criticism or what I think, but I'm not the one to like open up like just like, hey, I need someone to talk to. That's just not me. And that's kind of toxic in a way because you bottle that shit up and then you literally don't have an outlet. And because you said that weed was your outlet. For me, I want to say running is kind of my outlet.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing about running is I hated it as a kid. I was always the kid that would walk the mile. I did not like running.
Really? I
I
was a
played
sprinter.
soccer. Yeah, I played soccer or football, if you will. When I was a kid, like really little, like 6, 7, 8. I think I played for like 3 years. But yeah, I would never run. Never. Hated it. It hurt. I didn't want to do it. And then it was only until 2020 when I started running. And with running, it's more of a mental battle than it is physically, because for me, my brain goes like, "Hey, you should stop. Why are you running? Why don't you just take a break?" I'm just fighting that over and over again in my head, and it's like it gives me some sense of power when I just push through it. And if I push hard enough, literally my brain just kind of just like zones in, and I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not thinking about any shit that just happened. I'm just literally just present in the moment, just living. So it's hard to explain.
No,
But yeah,
I get what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually kind of agree with you. I actually think that your outlet is running. For the bit that I've gotten to know you, I do think that is your outlet, and I think it's important. I don't really think it matters what the outlet is, as long as the outlet works for you.
Yeah, everyone's different.
In a way that yeah, because like what works for me isn't going to work for everybody, right? Some people so like I'll put it in this way, like, so there's a lot of stigma around weed, and so while weed like actually had helped me break through my issues and work that shit out, for other people they get really lazy. I'm extremely productive. Like I can I can smoke a joint and be fucking productive and get shit done and do yard work and move 20 bags of mulch, and like I can be mad productive.
I can't.
But in the sense, like, yeah, I guess it just really depends on like what works for people, because like that's not going to work for everybody.
Yeah, we're literally all different. If I smoke, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Literally, like I cannot. I need to have my empty day or just chilling.
Yeah, I feel that. So just to kind of catch people up, those of you that are tuning in, and just real quick, since we did fucking scuffy out here, just to catch you guys up, what we're having a conversation about is kind of just how we got to where we are today, and so that's why you can see us kind of break off into a bunch of little tangents about other stuff. But it is all encompassed in the scope of how we became content creators and kind of our early battles as content creators, and so that's where we're at with that. And so we're kind of moving forward to where almost fast forwarding to present day. A lot of that's been past. We're kind of moving forward to present day right now.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about we're talking about like escapes. And so especially like in gaming, like a lot of people use gaming as an escape, but I think that gaming is, while I think gaming is a good escape, I think it's become really hard for people lately because maybe it's just me, but in general, I feel like the overall gaming community has become extremely polarized or like toxic. But I think that's I don't think it's a result of gamers or like the newer generation. I think it's a result of like we live in a very polarizing world. And so like it's easily to be influenced by outside factors, which then just leads into like your everyday life. And so like one of the things I talked about, one of the things that I had brought up recently on stream was that social media, and if you just go on Twitter and you scroll down, all the headlines, every post, it's all negative. It's all doom and gloom. It's all bad. And so when you consume that daily and you consume that over and over and over again, your outlook on life becomes that. And you don't even realize that it's becoming that. You don't even realize how much those headlines are actually consuming you. You might see, you're scrolling down Twitter and you see, another school shooting happened. And we've become very desensitized to it, especially here in the States. We're like, well, damn, RIP, that sucks. And then you scroll. And you go to the next one, and then you see a guy get hit by a car, and you scroll, and then you see people getting beat up, and you scroll, and then you hear about the war, and you scroll, and you hear about this and that and that, and that, without even realizing, every time you scroll past it, parts of that is hanging on to you, and that's sitting back there. And while you might not be actively thinking about it, it's in your subconscious. You're thinking about it, and so when you're reading these negative headlines, all you're consuming is that negativity. And so your outlook on life actually starts to get shaped without even realizing that it's happening. You actually start to get shaped by that negativity. And so things that maybe wouldn't have pissed you off before now start to piss you off to where you have a emotional reaction to it. And the minute you start reacting emotionally, especially your first reaction, if your first reaction is an emotional reaction, typically it's not actually how you feel. It's actually your emotions getting the better of you, and that's how it's expressing itself. And so I think an escape is really, really important. I think it's important for people to find an escape that works for them, regardless of what people might say about it, because you're going to have people that say, like, there are a lot of people that are going to disagree about my escape. They're going to say that you shouldn't smoke weed and that shouldn't be your outlet. It's never stopped me from succeeding. It hasn't stopped me from doing what I do best. And so I haven't let that, get in the way of anything. But for a lot of people, they're going to look at that negatively.
Yeah, they're going to look at it as a vice rather than something that's helping you. Honestly, maybe some vices are like good for you if they don't like affect you. Like,
I think that comes down to like personalities too.
Yeah, like there could be like some vices that like could be bad, but like overall the outlook is good. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Well, because so that's kind of like gaming, right? Like the gaming vice is a good vice. Getting into gaming and using that as an escape is really awesome and can be a great way to get away, and you just kind of take on a new life. Especially that's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of MMORPGs, is because I can take on a life of slaying demons and dragons that I could never do in real fucking life. It's why I love things like the Renaissance Fair. And so I think that's a good vice, but where that could be a negative vice is that there's toxicity in gaming that's rampant. You're not getting sunlight. You're spending a lot of hours staring at a screen, which can negatively affect your mental. And so that's where there's like the bad that can affect you too.
Too much of a good thing is bad.
Yeah.
Too much of anything is bad.
Well, and that's kind of where like there's that fine line, that fine balance, but it's like everybody teeters that line, or it's like how do you know what that balance is? And that's why I say like it kind of matters on your personality too, because if you have an addictive personality, there are people who get into alcohol and they drink and they drink and they drink and they hella drink, and their way of escaping everything is to drink, but then that leads to alcoholism, and alcoholism leads to death. But obviously we skipped a few steps. There's a lot of steps in between, but that's, another negative vice. But as somebody who drinks, I don't drink as a vice. I just drink socially. So if I get together at a bonfire, I might have 1, 2, maybe 3 beers. I might have a glass of whiskey. But outside of that, it's all very, very much moderation. But that's another one of those things that can be used as an escape. But if your personality calls for it, that might be a really bad escape for you. Yeah. And so I think just in general, I think everybody out there, we all have bullshit that we got to deal with, and life is fucking hard, man. And so it's like I'm in the mindset now where I'm 26 years old. I have an entire property to take care of and a fiance and a whole family. And so I can't be caught up in that negative outlook because I have to constantly be thinking about what's next for me and my family. And so that is my drive. That's my drive. That's what keeps me on the positive mindset, even though it's really hard. Like it's really easy you can have a bad week on Twitch as a content creator, and that entire bad week can cancel out everything you've done for years. It can make you feel like everything you did for years didn't even matter. And so I think that's kind of the hard thing.
It's so easy to go to the negative side too. It's so much easier to be negative about it than take it as like a positive.
I think a lot of that is like we were saying too, the emotional reaction. That's everybody's first reaction, is to react emotionally. Like the first thing that hits, for instance, let's see, what's a good example of this? Okay, easy. You've got 500 subs on Twitch, 300 of them are gifted. 30 days from now, 300 of them disappear the same day. And so your first reaction is, fuck, like, damn, 300 subs?
Sword through the chest, like, oh my goodness.
Like, damn, I'm falling off. And it's like, that's not even true. Like your brain is going to tell you you've fallen off and that you suck, but it's not even true because those are 300 gifteds that you wouldn't have had otherwise at that moment in time, I would say. And so it's easy for us to think of it negatively rather than just being like, damn, dude, I had 300 gifted subs. Like, that's crazy. That helped me out so much. We never ever look at the positives of it. We always look for the negative of it. And I think that's the trap. That's kind of just, that's the thing that a lot of people need to get out of their slumps.
I was kind of guilty of that when after the Corpsers thing, when all those subs ran out, I was like, oh man.
And I tried to warn you about that. I tried to warn
you.
You
did warn me.
Because I knew what that felt like for the first time too. That feeling never goes away. Like I got gifted 450 subs a couple months ago in one day, and so we were at like 1,089 subs, and now I sit at 250 subs from 1,080. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things where it's like, well, is that supposed to be me feeling like I failed? No, not at all, because I still do it full time. You know what I mean? But it's super easy to look at that as the negative, as the failure, and it's not.
Yeah, it really isn't. Or could it just be like circumstance?
Yeah, 100%. It's always crazy. It's so, and that's like, I think perspective is everything. And when I say perspective, I mean like perspective going back to like when you were a kid, like how you were raised is very much going to shape your outlook on life. That doesn't mean you're stuck in that outlook. Your outlook can change, but how you were raised is very much going to shape that outlook. And so for me, I grew up the youngest of 5 kids, and my mom was a single mom. None of our dads were in our family. We all have different dads, except for my 2 sisters. So me and my 2 brothers, different dads. My 1 sister, my 2 sisters have the same dad, except technically not. One sister was adopted by that dad, while the other is blood. And so while we've never looked at it as we've all been half siblings, we've never looked at it that way. We've always were raised by my mom that we're blood siblings. That's what it is. My mom was a single mom, raising all 5 of us. You know what I mean? And so this was back, you know, like back when the market crashed, like 2008. My mom had actually lost her house. We grew up in a house. It was actually a pretty big house too. But she had to work 3 jobs to pay those bills and then also to feed all of us. And my mom never turned anybody down. So we had the neighborhood too. You know what I mean? It wasn't just the 5 of us. Both my sisters had boyfriends, which are now their husbands. They stayed with us. They would come in and out. They would stay on the weekends. My mom would feed them. They would eat. My oldest brother had a friend who got kicked out of his house, and my mom brought him in. And so he lived in our basement with my brother, and my mom fed him. Even though she didn't necessarily have the means, she always made it work. She did what she had to do for all of us. And so from my perspective, I grew up not poor, right? I wasn't poor. I had clothes. I had food. But I went to school wearing no names from Payless. I got roasted, bro. Like I got roasted in elementary school because I had the no names from Payless that looked like shit. I had high watered pants. You know what I mean? And like that was what I had. That's what I had to do. And so like at the time I didn't know that. And so like every time I would ask for like a toy, I would ask for something, a game. I didn't always have the opportunity to get that. And at the time I used to like, you know, I would obviously blame my mom, or like I would be upset about it, but I didn't know what I know now. My mom physically, like she couldn't, like she literally could not. That was the difference between us eating or maybe not eating. And I never knew that because my mom never shared that. Nobody knew that. You know what I mean? None of my siblings. Yeah. But she always did her best no matter what. And so when I grew up, I always had this thirst. Like I always had this want to be able to support my mom the way that my mom had supported me. And so that was always my drive from the very beginning of everything. And so that's like when I turned 14, I started working at KFC. Like that was like, I got a job early. While a lot of people that waited till they were 18, 20 to get a job, I started working when I was 14 years old. As just a cashier at KFC, and I stayed there for 3 years, and that was a turning point for me because then I had my own money. I was able to do things with that money. But like when my mom had lost her house, when the whole stock market crashed and all that shit went down in 2008, my mom had our house had got foreclosed. From that moment on, we had lived in apartments. And so every year for like 6 years, we were moving. Like we would stay in a place for 1 year and we'd be to the next apartment. And then we'd stay in that place for 1 year and we'd be for the next apartment. And it got to the point where I was like, Ma, please, like, can we just do 2 years here? Like every year we're moving to a new neighborhood. We're packing. It's like, why am I even unpacking? We're just going to repack. We're literally just going to repack and go on to the next house. Like, what are we doing here? And so eventually we were in a little bit of a safer, I guess a safer spot. Things were better. You know, my siblings were older. So my mom got a little bit more help. I was still underage, but still younger, that we were able to finally stay in an apartment for 2 years. And, that was when I had started to stream more. Was that first, like it wasn't even like an apartment, it was like a house, but they were renting it out as an apartment. And so that was kind of new for me. That was when I was like really exploring. We had like a backyard for once, right? Like I wasn't like in a building. Like finally I had a backyard. I could do fucking bonfires. And yeah, dude, it was so that was like what shaped my drive for everything, was legitimately that.
Yeah, my upbringing was like pretty rocky. So I'm the oldest of 5 children. My dad had children with 3 women. So it's 2 kids for every wife. He married 3 times. And so like he wasn't, so he's in the military, and if you guys don't know, in the military, like they get stationed and they move a lot. And since my mom and dad were split, I didn't have a dad. I was literally raised by my grandmother and my mom. And it's just really tough. Like I had my grandfather, but I never really had like a father figure. So I didn't have anybody like to really direct me. So like it kind of just, I honestly really just didn't give a shit about life. I was like, this fucking sucks. Like, and then I don't know. I'm kind of like battling not whether or not to go like so deep into it, because it's kind of like,
I mean, it's one of those things. Yeah, it's one of those things. I get it, because that's something I don't really ever go into detail with. Like I same thing growing up. I didn't have a dad. actually most of us in my family, like we had that conversation about how we all had different dads. Yeah, it was the same thing growing up. A lot of us didn't have our dads in our family.
Yeah, I wish I had that. Like again, I had my grandfather. I pride my grandfather. Honestly, like truthfully speaking, I would say my grandfather is actually like my dad because my dad literally was never there. And so like fast forward to I was in middle school. Um I was how do I word this? I was told I was going to live with my dad, but I never knew the guy. So I lived with him in 2 years. This is when I lived in Alabama, and I hated every minute of it. So he was just a very stern person, and for me, I just wanted somebody to like understand me, but it was literally just somebody telling me no, do this, do that, like very strict, and I didn't want that. So I kind of clashed heads with them. So like it was part of me like you were never there, and then now you're treating me like shit. So I kind of like pushed away for them. So I only lived there for 2 years, and then I came back, and then yeah, that amplified the I don't give a fuck attitude. That's when I just started skating every day. I didn't give a fuck about school. My grades were fucked. I didn't do homework. And
Yeah,
then
so that was like one of those things too for you, where like that was a factor. Like that was very much a factor for like how your entire life was shaped. Was that you were? I guess in a way you could say you were kind of angry. Right.
I was
like
angry.
that's where that I don't give a fuck attitude came from. Yeah, because it was the same
Yeah.
thing for me with not having my dad and my family or like in my life. It was like, yeah, like you're angry. It was especially
Yeah.
hard. Like maybe you could relate to this. You ever go and hang out with your buddies, or you get like so like I had a buddy growing up. I got invited to a Milwaukee Bucks game when I was real young, and so I went with my buddy's family to the Milwaukee Bucks game where it was, you know, his dad, his mom, his sister, him, and then there's
Yeah.
me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, like so it was very like confusing to like navigate that. So is it me or does he cut out? Was it my mic? If it was my mic, guys, it's just because I probably was just really quiet and moved. Happens randomly. Yeah, it's the threshold. It's the threshold. But yeah, so I get that. I get that 100%. Like, so it was anger, and then so you know, trying to figure out where that anger came from, like dissecting that.
Yeah, it's tough. Because honestly, I still haven't gotten over it. I still haven't forgiven my dad.
No, I haven't either. I don't have a guy
I-
like he's reached out to me, but
Yeah. Like he's reached out to me, but like for me, I wish he would just try like more than he did. It feels like he just gives up
no, it's the same
too
thing.
easily. Like like I'll have a conversation, but like I just don't feel like it's enough.
Well, and
I
so
don't honestly speaking, I don't think it'll ever be enough, to be honest.
well,
kinda-
yeah, because okay, so and I think that's, truthfully speaking, I think that's the tourist in us, because we want them to reach out more because we want them to try harder because in a sense we want them to make up for the 20 plus years that they weren't fucking there. Because why? Right? And so for me, I don't know about your situation in particular, but for me, my dad had another family. Like I've got brothers and sisters from an entire another family that my dad has been there for. So for me, I'm angry because I'm like, well, what did I fucking do? Like, why wasn't it good enough for you to be around for me, but you've been around for them? Like, they all know you. I don't even know who you are. We share the same last name. And so the fucked up part, I don't have the same last name as the rest of my family does. My dad was the only one that showed up for the birth, so I got my dad's last name. But now I have to associate with my dad's last name, even though he's never, ever been there for me. So when I was 25, 24 years old, and he started to reach back out for me, I didn't care. I was like, nah, I don't want to talk to you. Why? Like you took this long to find me on Facebook.
Yeah, why now? I was literally gonna say
why
that.
are you
Why now?
why now? Like, what is it now that why do you want to talk to me now? And then so it's like I would respond and like be short or brief, But then that was it. Like, I would go months and not respond, and he wouldn't even try to reach out again. It was like he just gave up again. It was like, why is it so easy for you to just keep giving up? Or like, why do you not care enough to like pursue that? Like, if you really want to pursue that relationship with me, why are you not still actively trying? Because I guess that's the Taurus in us though, because we're very stubborn, and so we're set in that way. In our minds, especially in my mind, I'm like, dude, I made it this far without you. I don't fucking need you. Even though deep down, I wish I had that father figure. Because for me, especially for me, I didn't realize how much I wish I had that until I bought a house. And I was like, dude, I don't know how to change the oil on a car. I don't know how to change the oil on a lawnmower. I don't know how to fucking fix things. Like, I have to use YouTube or like a homie or my brother-in-law for everything. And so it's like being a 26-year-old man who's very much independent of like my own lifestyle. I have to reach out to another male, like another alpha figure, and be like, hey, can you teach me how to change, like, and so it's actually really funny because Father's Day is coming up, and every time someone brings up Father's Day to me, I was like, that's crazy. That's a holiday. I've never heard of that in my life. And my fiance will be like, well, you have my dad. And I was like, no, it's not like that. Like even though they've supported me more than anybody else has, your family has like always supported me. It's not like that for me because I don't know how to emotionally connect on that level because I've never had it. And so 100%, it's like, I don't even recognize that as a holiday. Like, yeah, it's cool for everybody that celebrates it. I don't recognize that as a holiday because it's never been one for me. It's never been something I've been able to celebrate. So I get it. Like, there's definitely, without a doubt, I don't know if there'll ever be a point in which we both can like push through that anger, because that's just something that's rooted from so long ago. And I don't know if you could ever reach like a middle ground where you could feel satisfied with that, right?
Yeah, I just want them to like just to fight, you know, as much as like we say no and we're stubborn. I wish they would just like
we say no because we want them to fight more. It would be extremely easy because it would be incredibly easy for us to just accept it.
Exactly.
But we don't.
But like, we don't want that.
Yeah.
We want you, at least for me, I want my dad to be like, to prove to me that he cares, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Just by reaching out once and then me saying no and then you go disappearing for 6 more months is not going to do anything. The same thing with the Father's Day, like when it's like, everyone asks me, oh, did you call your dad? No, I don't fucking call my dad. He never called me for fucking years. Why am I going to go out of my way to call him?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do it.
Well, I like, for me in my situation, like, I don't even have my dad's number.
I just get pissed off. I'm just like, no.
Yeah, I get it. Cause no, 100% I relate on that on like an unreal fucking level. Cause it's very much the same like upbringing in a sense.
Yeah, and I blame him for my like anti-authority because he was a very like very stern, very strict, and because just he wasn't there, and I resent him for that. It kind of like anybody who told me what to do, I didn't want to fucking do it because all I saw was my dad. So that's why I had that don't care attitude. I'm not going to do anything you tell me, and which really hurt me, which means I had no drive, I had no purpose back in the day. And yeah, so I blame him for all of that. It just it's a lot.
Yeah, it's I don't think it's ever an easy like topic to like go over. Like I don't think it'll ever. I think no matter what, it'll never be easy with that. And so I think, and actually this kind of is just like by human nature too. I think we naturally default to the path of least resistance. And so for us, the path of least resistance is to continue how we've continued our entire lives. And it's to not care. It's to not be, not want that relationship, to not want that reach out. And for me right now, it's weird because like I have siblings that reach out to me, and it's especially weird for me because they'll say stuff like, I love you. And I'm like, I don't even know you. How do I respond to that? Like I get that you're very like in your values and you're very much, you know, in your, their faith. And so saying I love you is like supposed to be like a normal thing because we're family, we're blood. But for me, it's like, I've never met you ever. I know you're my sister. We share the same dad, I don't even know you, like, as a person. Like, I literally don't even know you. So how am I supposed to? And then I feel bad because I'll have conversations with my one sister on my dad's side, and for me, I purposely don't a wallet. I don't a wallet because I don't want to. As much as I'd like, especially because like, this is where it gets even more weird for me. That sibling that I speak to also does not get along with my dad for whatever reason. I don't know the details behind it. They conversate and they actually have actual conversation, but aside as that, you know, she understands my point of view from it. But for me, I don't. I'm very resistant to it. And so like, I'll get text messages and I'll read them and ignore them. I'll get messages on Facebook every holiday, happy birthdays. I'll read them, ignore them. They'll reach out to me. She'll reach out to me and be like, you know, we should get together. You know, I'm going to be in town. Let's get together. Let's do something. And I'll be like, yeah. And then when the time comes, I ignore it and I avoid it.
Yeah.
Because it's just easier. It's the path of least resistance. It's just easier to do that. And so I'd rather just go about. And so, and then I find that I actually make more excuses. I'm like, you know, I'm really busy with work. I'm really busy doing this. You know, I'm really busy doing this. So I can't, or I just won't respond. I just won't respond. Yeah, that's it's always a fucking challenging one, man. I don't think that'll ever change, to be honest. At least for me, and not on my front. I don't see that ever changing.
Yeah. So like, I really don't know my brothers. So I have 4 brothers and 1 sister. I actually don't know my sister at all. The two siblings from the last wife, I met them when they were a baby. They are now in college, and I don't know them for shit. I don't know them at all. We don't talk to each other, but like, it's weird. I really don't know them.
No,
but it's
I get it.
So there was like what came to like my realization. Not only was it like the military, but so my dad's dad had kids with different women, and then my dad did it, and then so for me, I was like, well, I don't want to like fuck it up. I didn't want to join the military to be away from family, and I didn't want a kid super young because I didn't want to bring them into the world, and it's so shitty. And what if we like split up, and you know, it's the cycle continues. It's fucked with me to the point where I don't give a fuck. Like,
Yeah,
I'd rather not get into a relationship because I don't want history to repeat itself, and sort of say.
well, I think part of like knowing what that past is like is the ability to it's the ability to see that and want to do better. And I think naturally, because of having that experience, you always will do better. Like, while I don't want kids right now, I don't know if that's ever a future that's like, maybe one day me and the fiance want kids. And so I'm open to the idea of it. And while I don't think, like, I don't even want to take care of myself right now. You know, I don't eat as much as I should. I skip meals. I don't exercise the way I should. You know, I don't want to take care of myself right now. So I can't fathom taking care of another being. Exactly. Yeah. And then, so part of me had realized that, like, well, maybe that's what I need. Right. There was a period in which I was like, well, what if having, and so this is selfish, and this is probably a selfish thought. And I was like, well, what if having a kid actually gets me to start taking care of myself more? And like, what if that's a good thing? Like, what if that immediately, because now I have something, and I don't want to say now I have something to fight for, because obviously my fiance, right, and you know, I'll do anything for her, and it's like the reason why I do what I do is because of her. Very much, she is my rock. Like, she holds me down. Like, when I'm getting, you know, when shit's going south for me, like, she brings me back to reality and like back to my grounded level, and keeps me in check. And so, very much so, I have a lot to fight for. But it's like, at the same time, it's like having a child, it would force me to get my shit together, because I now have a greater responsibility. And I know, even though I don't have the experience, I know I would be a better dad than my dad ever was to me, just because of knowing what it felt like for me to go up and grow through life not having a father figure, not having a dad to be there for me. And so immediately right there, I know that by having a kid, I would do whatever it took in my power to be a better parent than I was shown. And so that's why there's a point of which I'm like, okay, well, it wouldn't, like, maybe that's something I need. And I don't know. I'm still very young, right? Like, so it's like, that's why it's not out of the question for me. But like a lot of the times you guys will hear me joke, I'll be like, yo, fuck them kids. And that's because part of me is really like, yo, I'm young. Like, I just want to live my life right now. I don't want to take care of myself. I'm very much still a kid in that sense. I don't want, like, if it wasn't for Tabby, I wouldn't eat as much as I do. Like, she literally cooks and brings me food when I'm on stream. Like a fucking blessing, a godsend. She makes me dinner and brings it up to me. She keeps the house clean. And I try to help out the best I can where I can. So like Wednesdays are typically like, I'll clean the house on Wednesdays. I'll do the dishes and take some of that load off of her. I do all the outside work. But very much so, if I didn't have her, I would, dude, Jimmy, the exact same thing I tell you about all the time. I would order out because it's just easier to order out, right? I like cooking. I can cook. I enjoy cooking, but it's easier for me to just order out, especially when I'm on stream, right? Like do a 12-hour stream, order food because it's that easy. And so, there's some periods where it's like, there's just some periods where I'm like, well, maybe that's the type of structure I need because a young child needs a lot of structure. And I just know that I would strive to be a much, much, much better child much better parent.
Yeah. I feel like I wouldn't want to take that like as spite. Be like, if I did have a kid, I tried everything in my power to be a better father than what my dad was. Kind of just say like, fuck you. Kind of in a way. That's
exactly. It is a spite thing too. 100%. It's a spite thing because you want to show them that you're a better dad than they ever were. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think that like. I think the thing with kids too. Well, it is negative. But again, that goes back to the path of least resistance, and back to part of that is just being Tauruses, man, being stubborn. And I think part of that is just it's deeply rooted in that, right? Like there's always going to be spite. There's always going to be spite there because we're still angry about the situation.
Yeah, literally.
And I also acknowledge that like for instance, like what I talked about in sense of like having a child, or like why I wanted to have a child, that's one of the reasons. It's not the full picture. I don't think that'll ever be like, obviously that's not a reason to go and have a kid, but that's one of many reasons when you think about the whole process and you go through the entire thing. Just in general, like I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and so like I got to watch them grow up, and watching them grow up, I'm a sucker for my nieces. So like I want to have a baby girl. Like part of me wants to have a little girl that I can be extremely protective over. You know what I mean? And so there's points where I'm like, man, maybe I do want a kid, and then there's points where I'm like, I don't need a little me running around. Like I don't need a little me running around. Like I don't need that. Yeah. So there's a lot of back and forth, and my fiance very much shares the same thoughts right now. Like she doesn't know, she's unsure. But it's like I also feel like kids are one of those things that you'll never, like, for some people they know, right? Some people are like, yeah, I want kids, I'm gonna have this many kids. But I think a lot of people never really know until it happens, and then they have it and it's like, oh shit, like yeah, I want this. Or it's like, oh fuck, I made a mistake. Hopefully not the latter. But,
hopefully not the latter. Maybe you're in good standing when the latter happens, if that does happen. But,
yeah. But man, fucking, I think it's actually kind of nice to unpack some of that earlier. I don't know. I don't want to call it trauma, but I guess that's what you could call it.
I mean, at its core, it is trauma.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
I didn't even think we are gonna get into that, but it kind of just happened.
It's just how it goes. I mean, I think that's the
Yeah,
nature of like podcasts in general. I kind
yeah.
of like, I didn't think necessarily what the conversation could go to. To be honest with you, I didn't know where this conversation would go at all today.
Me either.
But it's all on general topic, and so I think it is really really good insight to who we are as people and just literally how we carry ourselves. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's just, it's one of the. I think a lot of the conversations on this podcast are going to go that way in the future. I think a lot of the things we decide to break into and get deep about, I think we'll really figure it out. But I think part of it
Hmm.
is kind of traversing our own bullshit too and learning from it.
Yeah, literally
Because
a
like,
reflection of ourselves
well,
just happening
it's
before us.
exactly that. It's literally reflecting, right? We always joke around. We're like, yo, shut up and
Yeah,
reflect. Shut
yeah. Shut
up,
up.
duck.
We're literally reflecting right
Yeah,
now.
shut up,
Holy
duck.
moly.
But we're quite literally reflecting right now, and I think it's through that reflection is how you
Yeah.
actually can grow. It's literally through that type of reflection where you can grow and become a better you. I think this like being able to go through that process is something that no one ever wants to. No one wants to wade through their own bullshit, but
No.
going
Yeah.
through that process is how we become better.
Yeah. I guess this is like a way to open up. As stubborn as we are, the way the nature of the podcast goes, like we have to talk and we have to talk about interesting topics, and then that goes into our own minds, how we think, our experiences, and then naturally it just comes out. So not only can maybe somebody resonate with the things we say, but also for our own, mental, it's like healthy.
I think it's extremely healthy. As much as like we could be resistant to like wanting to have the conversation, um,
Yeah.
it's freeing in a way.
Yeah. I like to
To
say I'm an open book, but to some extent I'm really not.
well, yeah,
But I don't mind. Like once I'm open, but it takes a lot for me to open up.
yeah. I think it's breaking the eggshell on the outside
Yeah.
to get to the yolk, and the yolk is the real shit that people don't really hear.